Good evening, this is Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. Tonight, not in my name. Thousands of people across India gathered for protest this evening, coming together with just one message, that mob violence is something we all have to fight and that we will not let this become the new normal. Since 2015, we at NDTV have counted 18 instances of mob murders, where most of the victims have been Muslims and where nearly all the reasons are linked to beef. These protests today are not just about the murder, however, of innocent Muslims. They are against any kind of mob violence against anyone, irrespective of their religion or caste. But we have to say here that the mob violence against Muslims has been especially significant because there is a pattern here, and we will explain that through data. We've come to a point where we have to ask ourselves what kind of country we're becoming. Do we want to turn into a nation of lynch mobs, or has the time come to speak out and speak up and speak louder?
The government is conspicuously silent. It was Junaid's murder, actually, the lynching of Junaid. I just couldn't sleep that night.
ঈশ্বর তো মানুষ সৃষ্টি করেছে আর মানুষ ধর্ম সৃষ্টি করেছে। আমার এই ছোট্ট শিশু সে যেন একটা সুন্দর সমাজ পায় যেখানে তারা বেছে নেবে সে কোন ধর্ম নিয়ে চলবে।
Humanity first. That's why I'm here.
Today my country is bleeding hatred, injustice. The government cannot take any measures to stop this, to remove these stains from my country. Then we as a citizen has to take some measures from our end.
ये दंश में भी 84 में हमारे समाज के लोगों ने भी इसको झेला। ये जो भी ट्रेन में घटना घटी अंदर तक झंझोर के रख दिया इसने।
मैं कहना चाहता हूँ देश की सरकार से इसके खिलाफ कोई सख्त कानून बनाया जाए और इसके खिलाफ आवाज उठाई जाए।
This is something new and we have to strongly protest.
This is basically happening right under your nose. It will lead through a massive destruction. It will come against the ethos of our country.
September 2015, Mohammad Akhlaq was killed by a mob which accused him of storing beef in his home in Dadri. A few days later, 16-year-old Zahid Rasool Bhatt was killed in Jammu and Kashmir. In January 2016, railway passengers were attacked in Madhya Pradesh's Harda district. 27-year-old Mustaine Abbas was killed in Kurukshetra in April. 2 months later, a Dalit family was attacked, allegedly by the Bajrang Dal. And within a month, 4 Dalits were flogged in Gujarat. On the 26th of July 2016, 2 Muslim women were beaten at a railway station in Mandsaur in Madhya Pradesh. A couple of weeks later, 2 lower castes were injured in Amalapuram, Andhra Pradesh. In September 2016, 4 Muslim youth were attacked and then arrested in Bhind in Madhya Pradesh again. On the 16th of October, 20-year-old Noman was killed in Sarahan in Himachal Pradesh. In April this year, Pehlu Khan was killed in Alwar, Rajasthan. And later that month, 2 were killed in Assam, both Muslims. In May this year, 3 were injured in Malegaon in Maharashtra. On the 6th of June, 35-year-old Ainul Ansari was attacked in Dhanbad. 6 days later, a Tamil Nadu government team was attacked in Rajasthan. On the 23rd of June 2017, 16-year-old Junaid is killed in a train by a mob in Haryana. On the 25th of June, the worst attack yet, 3 killed in North Dinajpur in Bengal. And then on the 27th of June 2017, 1 person was beaten and his house set on fire by a mob in Jharkhand. Well, lots to talk about on the program tonight, and let's go straight across to our panel this evening. And let me begin by asking activist Shabnam Hashmi, who actually returned an award recently over the issue of these mob murders. Shabnam, why has today been so important? And there are some who are skeptical about these protests. I mean, for instance, Shivam was telling us just earlier that there were more journalists perhaps in the Delhi protests than ordinary folks. I was there too. I did see a lot of people I didn't know. Hard to say at this point. But what would you say to those who are skeptical today about whether these protests would make an impact?
Well, I think today's protest, which was started by Sabha Diwan, was a very important protest, because the kind of atmosphere of fear that was there across India, especially among the minorities, and the feeling of hopelessness that all this is happening, killings are happening, lynchings are happening, and nobody is speaking out. The fact that the majority community was not coming out and speaking out. One little post from Sabha, one article from Sabha, and spontaneously it grew, and it grew not to only Delhi but to 16 cities across India. I think it is a very big step, and the fact that it reposed faith in the civil society of this country, that they have got up, they have not, one protest is not going to change everything, but it is a beginning, and it is a very important beginning. It's a very important message to the government of the day that people are not going to take it lying down.
Well, we have Anchita Ghatak, author and activist, joining us from Kolkata this evening and as well. Anchita, do you agree with what Shabnam has said? Do you believe that these protests do make a difference, that somebody is listening to them, that somebody is watching them? Do they make an impact?
Yes, we believe this will make an impact because a large number of people turned up today. I think we had about 700 people who had gathered from all walks of life, and these killings have really bothered everyone, and everyone felt the need to speak out. So, and after this is not going to stop. There'll be more gatherings, there will be more action, and people will be talking to other people and make them question their prejudices and see what they feel about making India a functioning democracy.
Well, let me go across to Vikram Sampath, author and historian, who's joining us from Bangalore this evening. And Vikram, you are more skeptical about the nature of these protests and what people today were protesting about. Can you tell us why?
Nidhi, at the outset, I think lynchings or any kind of mob violence and loss of life, I think it's extremely despicable, and anybody, you know, whether it's a political class or it's the civil society, needs to speak out about it. And so to that extent, I think it's very important whatever people are speaking up. But then I think the problem arises when it is twofold. One is when it is selective outrage, and secondly, when there is a misinformation campaign. And we've seen that over the last 3 years. We've seen when a political narrative is built into the whole idea. Are we saying that before 2014 India was a land of peace and utopia where there were no mob violence, there were no lynchings? We are a deeply divided and prejudiced society, and so the other side can always turn back and show data, which I think many people, Anand Ranganathan of News Laundry has compiled very extensive data which shows that in the UPA 2 regime, almost one crime against Dalits every 15 minutes for each of the 5 years of the second UPA regime, and 5 Dalit women were raped every single day in just 2013. So what kind of mob, what kind of violence was that? And also, if you see in the last 3 years, it started with the whole narrative of the church attacks. A very big blitzkrieg went around the world about how the Hindus are coming out against us and so on, and later on investigations did show that a lot of this was either burglaries or accidents. The very unfortunate rape of the very 74-year-old nun, that also turned out to be the one done by 2 Bangladeshis. How many in the media or how many of the intellectuals who wrote all these op-eds ever came out and apologized for spreading a misinformation? In my own state, the very gruesome murder of Dr. Kalburgi.
Yes.
No, let me just finish this one point. The murder of Dr. Kalburgi, which led to the intolerance debate and the award Wapsi campaign to begin. 1 year later, the Karnataka state CID actually arrests 2 people who confess that it was actually a property dispute that led them to murder Dr. Kalburgi. But by then, the media and the larger, people had built this kind of narrative which made it extremely political. So this is what I mean Vikram, by both selective outrage as well as misinformation.
Sure, and some of those points are very important points. I do want to ask you though, and since we're talking about data, now India spent which is basically a fact checker. It says it's the country's first data journalism initiative. So this is their data, okay?
Indeed.
And they're talking about
the
way Muslims have been targeted for 8 years, so it's not just the last 3 years, but they're saying that Muslims have been the target of 51% of violence that have been centered on bovine issues for over 8 years. 86% have been dead in cow-related violence since 2000. 86% of those dead in cow-related violence since 2010 are Muslim. And as many as 97% of these attacks have been reported after May 2014. This is the data that they have compiled. And it goes into very specific states, saying that till June 2017, about half the cow-related violence was from BJP-ruled states, and so on. This is what I think is the concern here, Vikram.
I was going to come to that.
Yeah, you know, about the fact that here you have mostly Muslims, where beef is somehow related, you know, to these murders. And India Spend's data says that it's clear they see that most of these attacks that have been perpetrated against Muslims have happened in the last 3 years. How do you look at that data?
No, at the same time, the data also says 50% of the kind of attacks have happened in non-BJP ruled states, Nidhi. So are we then saying that these non-BJP ruled states are also complicit in the murder? I think that is really missing the point, the woods for the forest, and because fundamental in this issue is, I think, police reforms. We have, back in 2006, the Supreme Court in the Prakash Singh versus Union of India case had very clearly laid out guidelines as to how police reforms have to be made across the country. I think the media's focus and the focus of all of us like-minded people who are very concerned about violence in this country needs to be on that aspect, saying how can we actually free the police from political interference, and the Supreme Court directives were not followed by any state government.
Well,
17 or 18 states did come out with new police acts, police reform acts.
That is an issue, but I want to take the other points that you made about
so
selective...
mob violence, the mobs take...
Sorry, finish your sentence.
Mobs may go on an outrage and a rampage. Mobs go on an outrage and a rampage only when the police and the local law and order and administration fails. So I think fundamental there is the police reform, and also India as a country is highly under-policed. We have only 119
Vikram, just give me a second to take what you said to Kavita Krishnan here. Kavita's here with us. Vikram's made 2 or 3 points, and among them, the accusation of selective outrage, misinformation, and a political narrative that creeps in, every time something like this happens. He also made the point that there's data to show that you've had mob murders and lynchings before 2014 as well. How would you respond?
I want to, I also heard all his remarks, and I would like to respond by saying that, the political narrative is not crafted by us, all right. The political narrative begins when you have a minister in the cabinet going to attend the funeral of somebody who has been involved in the mob violence. Yeah. And while trying to suggest, when you have the chief minister of a state like Haryana trying to suggest that killing somebody over a beef rumor is all right. And these are not 1 or 2 isolated instances. One could have, just like you have the compilation of data, of numbers, you could have a long, never-ending compilation of remarks, statements by people in power, holding posts in government, as well as people running organizations which feel emboldened and empowered by the government, which speak the same Hindu Rashtra narrative, who are all justifying these killings. That is what is crafting the narrative. I want to point out here that I do not dispute the fact that killings like this have happened in non-BJP ruled states and prior to the BJP's being in power. But my point is that a lot of these killings, especially the ones that are targeted against the minorities, are done by organizations close to the BJP or encouraged by the BJP. And that is true even of the mob lynchings which have happened in current times, which have happened in non-BJP ruled states. So my point is that, you see, I hold no brief for those who run, non-BJP governments or non-BJP, parties. I'm sure they have a lot of crimes to their and their inability or refusal to protect, the Uttar Pradesh government of Akhilesh, if it did not protect a clerk, sure, I will put it in the dock for that. But the point is that it is BJP leaders and none others who have justified Akhlaq's killing, who have justified Zafar's killing in Rajasthan, who are justifying and who are taking policy decisions like, in the direction of banning beef and so on. When you have Venkaiah Naidu, I'll just say one last thing. When Venkaiah Naidu does not say that killing a human being, killing a boy on a train is unconstitutional, but he says eating beef is unconstitutional, wrongly so. There's nothing unconstitutional. The Constitution does not say you cannot eat beef. But Venkaiah Naidu says that he is a central cabinet minister. What is that encouraging?
So let me ask, we have Bhaskar Jyoti with us. He's from the ABVP and the student wing that's affiliated to the RSS. As a young man growing up in this country, having grown up in this country, does it disturb you what you're seeing? I mean, is there some element of truth when you see people protesting like this today that even pricks your conscience and makes you wonder what we're becoming?
Well, no civil society or no civilized society would ever justify any killings or mob lynching for that matter. But selective outrage or selective criticism of any mob lynching or any murder will not be justified by the same civil society. For example, there has been no prime time show has been conducted on the mob lynchings of the RSS Karyakartas that has been regularly being done in Kerala. No program has been done in for the killings that is taking place regularly in leftist ruled state like West Bengal. So this selective outrage and the misinformation.
How are those the same as a mob murdering an innocent person over beef? How are they mob murders?
Like the incident that took place recently in Kannur or the Kunnur, an RSS Karyakarta was mob lynched by the leftist Karyakartas and the leftist Gund, whose posters were recently installed in Delhi University campus, and a protest was also organized by our student wing ABVP. But no as such media report was broadcast on the same order on this.
I'm going to take what you said to the other side, but let me ask you: do you condemn the way the way these Muslims have been killed, accused of eating beef, or on rumors of possessing beef, or on rumors of eating beef? Do you unequivocally condemn that, and do you think that the political leadership and the Prime Minister should condemn it?
Obviously, any killing or any murder should be condemned unequivocally. But at the same
why is there a but?
What?
Why is there a but? Why are you saying but?
But at the same time, you should also consider that murder of not only a Muslim but murder of any citizen of India, or for that matter any human being is equal murder. For example, if the army persons or the persons of the paramilitary forces were killed by the Naxalites in Sukma, that is also a kind of murder. But no protest or no the same kind of means the same outrageous protest were done by the leftists who are good at building narratives all over India, all over the country. Like
okay.
they built.
Everyone participating in the protest has already been called a leftist, and I'm not surprised. Shivam, I'm going to come to you in a second. Shaila Rashid is with us as well. Shaila, let me take that point that the ABVP has raised, which has actually been raised repeatedly by the RSS, the ABVP and the BJP, about the selective outrage issue, about the killings in Kerala. How would you respond to that? That why don't we see voices being raised as strongly when these kind of political killings and these killings happen in say Kerala as we do now?
See, first of all, I will not go into a one-to-one with anyone, least of all ABVP, because 2 or 3 months back, we were here battling them on the issue of what they did in Ramjas, and that exactly, I mean, that happened in central Delhi, that is not some Jharkhand village. It was ABVP committing unilateral violence and the police were watching on. Now, what these lynch mobs do, and I'm going to make a larger point here, my point is not to get into fights with ABVP. The larger point here is that, are we principally against mob lynching? Whether that is RSS Karyakarta, whether that is Kalburgi, that is anything. I mean, the gentleman here says that Kalburgi was murdered over a property dispute. There are other narratives saying that the RSS Karyakarta in Kerala was murdered over a property dispute. That is not the point. Point is, do we principally condemn and stand against mob lynching? And more than you and me, more than the people sitting here, this should bother the government. Why? Because number one, these mobs, they are acting in the name of the state. They are acting in the name of enforcing certain laws. What law? Beef law, anti-nationals ko prosecute karna hai, something, whatever they say, whatever justification they come up with, they act in the name of the state. So they directly negate the authority of the state. It is a parallel government being run. It is a parallel police. Now look at the situation. In Kashmir, you have a policeman getting lynched, all right? And the police is not doing anything or doesn't do anything. In the case of the train lynching, the police says that the crowd was so much that we couldn't control. The police is being made irrelevant, or the police is being directed not to act. And, you know, I don't want to take this into another controversy. Everyone knows that this is happening in states where the police is controlled by BJP. However, it's not as if other, other people are not capable of it, etc. I mean, the kind of encouragement that the lynch mobs are receiving from the central government, anyone can become a lyncher. The point is that we have to put, and this is the only point that I'm going to make here before, I would want the ABVP to respond to this. Let's put everyone through a litmus test. Let's give them a law. Let's come up with a law against mob lynching, and let's give this to all the opposition parties, be it CPIM, be it Congress, be it whoever. Let us give it to the ruling party at the center. And we want the parliament to enact a specific legislation against mob lynching, because if this kind of mob lynching becomes common, nobody is safe. Please let me assure you, Mr. ABVP, neither you are safe nor I am safe if lynch mobs become common. If the fear of the law disappears from the minds of the people, nobody is safe. So in your own interest, please tell us, do you support this legislation do you support a Manav Suraksha Qanun against mob lynching? If yes, then we are on the same page. Because we have a stake in this country together.
Okay, give me a second to get everyone on the same page on this particular issue, and let me get Shivam in first, the deputy editor of HuffPost India. Shivam, you wrote a very interesting piece where you took a very contrarian view, where you said you don't believe that these protests actually accomplish anything and that they play into the hands of those who are actually trying to divide the country. Explain.
See, my difference with this protest is not ideological. My blood boils when I hear of every new incident of lynching. My difference here is strategic. I'm saying that, what is this protest saying? This protest is saying Muslims are being lynched with the false excuse of beef. And there are Hindutvaadis out there saying, very good, this is what we want. So what are you, this protest is called Not In My Name in English. And what is happening, the protest was organized 6 p.m. It's about 8:20 p.m. right now. By now, photos of the protest with Hindi captions saying, here look at the beef eaters, here look at the people who are against the cow, who want to kill the cow, must be circulated in WhatsApp groups across the country, right? So if you have to be strategic about it, you should attack on issues where the Hindutvaadis don't really have an answer. Such as Vikram Sampath was talking about, violence against Dalits during UPA years, as if there is no violence against Dalits today, as if we haven't seen the recent Saharanpur riots or the Unakand. Now, there's a farmers' agitation going on in this country from Punjab to Tamil Nadu, across the country. In Madhya Pradesh, after that police firing where 5 people died, 30 have committed suicide afterwards. After announcement of farm loan waiver in Punjab and UP, after it's been announced that you will get a farm loan waiver, farmers have still committed suicide. But on these issues, we are somehow blind. We do not organize protests across cities. And I do not make this point in the same way in a selective outrage which ABVP or Vikram Sampath are making. I make this point by saying, if you raise those issues, if you make a campaign, if you say not in my name on farmers' police firing, and farmers are being murdered in this country and nobody is outraged. There is no discussion about it. There is no jantar mantar about it. So if you were to raise those issues, you would actually be able to put the government on a back foot, because on Dalits and farmers, no Hindutvaadi will say, okay, great job.